Um, Lots of friendly faces, lots of new faces. It's great to see everybody. Thanks for being here. Can everybody hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up to the camera. I got some nods. Cool. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody giving their this portion of their evening on a Saturday night to this. We're really excited. We did this last night and it was really beautiful and a really wonderful experience to get to see so much new work from so many great, creative, interesting artists. And we're excited to do it again. My name is Matthew Young. For anyone that doesn't know me, I'm a photographer, I'm a director, I'm the founder of Art of Freelance. And it's my pleasure to get to introduce this event tonight. I'm just going to give you a quick intro on what Art of Freelance is, just to kind of provide a little bit more context for what you're going to see. So Art of Freelance is a 10-week online workshop for creative freelancers. This is the 10th time that we've done it. And basically we run through a series of exercises where we sort of big picture visualization, we set some goals, we kind of map them out and see which paths we might take to get to some of those goals. And then we plan a project that we're gonna work on over the 10 weeks of the workshop. But the real sort of meat of the course is that we get broken into a small cohort with 5, 6 other creative freelancers, and we meet weekly and we just hold each other accountable to the goals that we said we were gonna set. And so what we're gonna see tonight is the work that was created over the 10 weeks from the workshop. So some of the work is unfinished, some of the work is imperfect, some of the work is very personal, some of the work is very tactical, very business oriented. It's always different. It's just whatever the person feels is most in service at that time to their greater vision for their sort of creative life. So, I'll give the disclaimer so that everybody doesn't have to, we've done this workshop 10 times. We've never done it before in the midst of a global pandemic. We've never done it in the midst of these global protests for racial equality. It's hard to stay focused on this kind of personal work in the easiest of times, and it's certainly hard to do that in these more anxious times. And so I just really want to commend everybody who's going to present tonight for having the tenacity to stay on track and show up tonight, whether their project is perfect and finished or still on its way. And we're really excited to see the projects and proud of everybody for coming along on this journey with us. So we'll be doing the workshop again in the fall. If anybody's interested, please follow us on Instagram at Art of Freelance. Check out the website, artoffreelance.com. And we would love to answer any questions that you have about the workshop and see you in the fall. So without any further ado, we're gonna kick it off and start seeing these presentations. There's a chat window. For anyone that's not super familiar with Zoom, down on the bottom, click the chat window. We'll be putting people's social media handles in there and that kind of good stuff, saying hi to each other in there. And if you have any questions, throw them in the chat window. We ask everyone to stay muted during the presentations, except for right at the end of somebody's presentation, when we encourage everybody to time it perfectly and unmute themselves for a round of applause and a hurrah. Because like we said, there's nothing worse than finishing a Zoom presentation to the deafening silence of Zoom mute. So that was more further ado when I just said without further ado. So now I'll stop talking, we'll get right to it. We appreciate everybody being here and we're excited to see these presentations. So Jessica, thank you for kicking it off for us in the midst of a move.
Thanks for having me. It's so wonderful to be here. I'm really excited to kick it off tonight. I am Jessica Channon-Smith. I'm a Los Angeles-based photographer and director. I shoot a lot of like editorial work and commercial work, and I've started to do more branded content, specifically like in the mobile or social space. So I thought it would be really fun to marry sort of my professional work with one of my true passions, which is wine. And I've really gotten into wine lately, as I hope, and I'm sure many of you also are into wine, specifically during quarantine. And I thought it would be fun to make little cinemagraphs, which are sort of like these little motion assets with various wines. I wanted to feature naturally made wines from women, from female owned or produced vineyards. And I had a really fun time doing this. The project was intended to be a bit grander, and just with everything going on, it became these cute cinemagraphs. They're meant to be fun. They're meant to be like a delicious little sip of wine on a summer's day. So I'm going to share my screen and we will check it out. So here we go. I'm just going to play them for you. This is the white wine that I am featuring. It's an Italian white. So I just wanted to show the fun movement of the beautiful wine. The next one is a natural orange wine. And these, I highly recommend all these wines if anyone needs any, drinking suggestions. This is from California. It's a really beautiful orange wine. The next was this great French red. It was probably my favorite of all the wines. So I really just had fun playing with these assets and just sort of experimenting and hoping I can bring some of this into my professional practice. So then this one I kind of like was going a little bit wild. I have like the traditional, just the pouring. Which was kind of cool. And then also just, I thought it was really cool how the wine was moving in the glass. So I created that. And then the last one is a spritz. So what's really fun about cinemagraphs is just that you get to really combine this still asset with motion and really capture and highlight just one little thing. So I really enjoyed it. It was a fun project. I'm gonna stop the share and see your faces. And that's it, I'm done. Thank you.
Yay. And she has the spritz right there. Right on.
Love it.
Really good. Yeah, nice work. That looked beautiful. The lighting was great. Brands love those cinemagraphs. All right, John.
All right. How's it going, everyone? I'm John Dubois. I'm a photographer based here in LA. Old friend of Matthew's. This is my third time doing Art of Freelance, and I've done a totally different thing every time. So it's always a little bit of a surprise what I'll decide to tackle, and I think that's part of the fun of it. So here, I'll go ahead and share my screen. This looks okay. I think. Can you guys all see this PDF right here?
Mm-hmm.
Sure can.
Okay. So I did screenshots from my Instagram stories. That was kind of the easiest way because I had already captioned kind of the steps as I went along. So what I did is I converted a shed that was in the backyard of the house that me and my wife just moved into. And over the 8 weeks, I kind of transformed it into the dream office that I've always wanted. So it's day one. And I kind of tried to highlight what I was doing as I went along. I got a door. I had to notch it, and I did some before and afters along the way. I got some tiles. Our neighbor gave us some old wood that she didn't need, and then I sanded them down and finished them and put them up. So that replaced the low ceiling beams that were there before. This is the hardest part, was installing a window and framing it out. So I did a 1, 2, 3 of it going up. It's my least favorite step, insulation. Hate it. And then we had some walls. Here's a monster shelf that I had to do in multiple steps. Before and after on the walls. Another before and after. Here's a tile. Yeah, the hard part was because of the pandemic, I couldn't bring in anyone to help me or even have a second set of hands. So it was really like some things were challenges trying to do them alone. So I learned some new skills. And I also did a lot of FaceTime calls with my dad, who's an expert in this kind of stuff. So that was fun. Back to the monster shelf. Grout party. Monster shelf. And finally a coat. So I did some before and afters today to really show the full transformation. And it was cool because at the beginning of Art of Freelance, you dream what your life's going to look like in 5 years. And part of that is dreaming about what your workspace is going to be. So I went back and I pulled all the quotes that kind of inspired what I did to the shed. So, and I put them in there so you can see a standalone structure with amazing light. And there it is at the end with, I replaced the door and put a window in. So I got my light. Temperature controlled, mostly just with the door being open, that's the temperature control. Tons of desk space, incense burning. So you see my little incense burning there, my desk space. I had to cut down an existing desk and pull the legs off to get it in there, but it worked. Some things I really am gonna have to wait till the 5-year version, but I did, you know, my miniature version of it. So there's that. And this is what you kind of sum up what your personal, professional, and relationship goals are. And so this is my personal goal, to kind of build a space that fed into my creative life and inspired me. And that's it.
Yeah, cool.
All right.
Nice work, man.
Wow.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Right on, dude. Taking those 5-year goals and making them now. So I'm actually up next. So I'm back so soon. Hello, hi everybody. I don't need to introduce myself because I already did that. So I will get right to screen sharing my desktop over here. So, you know, coronavirus happened, this lockdown happened right as we were kicking off Art of Freelance. And, you know, I'm an advertising photographer. I usually work on big shoots with a lot of crew and a lot of cast and a lot of complexity. I was leaving for a big shoot in South Africa right when all this happened, and it got canceled, and so did all the shoots after it. And the honest truth is that I was not feeling super creative and inspired to go make different work, that, you know, to start shooting details in my studio or do something like that. And I didn't really know what I was going to do for Art of Freelance. And the other thing is, this is the first time I've actually done Art of Freelance since the very first time we did it. You know, because I've always been kind of busy with implementing it. So it was really interesting for me to go and do the exercises and be part of a cohort and do the check-ins. And thanks to my cohort for really kind of, you know, keeping us, you know, all of us accountable. But for me, the project that I chose was focusing on Art of Freelance. And the thing that I've been most resistant to doing with Art of Freelance, which was sort of putting myself in front of it in any real way. So what I decided to do is to work on the blog, to focus on supporting the community and other freelancers that are, you know, were being affected by coronavirus, and to start hosting some webinars where I would interview people, smart people smarter than me, about the industry, about how freelancers could operate in this sort of new normal and what lessons we could learn. So I'll just kind of quickly walk you through. You know, it went from just sort of some initial thoughts and was just kind of sharing my thought process with everybody that wanted to listen, and sort of starting to think about how I was going to personally tackle, making new work, planning a calendar, scratching a creative itch, diversifying income streams. And then it turned into hosting these webinars. So we hosted 4 webinars via Zoom and interviewed I guess that was about 10 different people through the course of that. And it was really inspiring to get to interview all these people. I'm not going to play the videos, obviously, but it was really incredible to sort of hear their thoughts about how we could navigate this time. But the most interesting thing for me was the things that were going to remain the same about being a creative freelancer, whether it's the pandemic or not. And so that's what I started to focus on more towards the tail end of these calls. But before we got there, we did a lot of work around figuring out some of the financial resources that were available for creative freelancers, as we were sort of finding out the information about unemployment benefits, about the SBA loans and the Paycheck Protection Programs, the economic injury disaster loans, student loan relief, rent and mortgage relief, grants that people could apply for. As we started aggregating some of that. A really sort of important thing I feel like we did was we worked with Space for Arts, who you're going to hear from a little bit later, who helped us interview an infectious diseases expert and come up with safety protocols for being back on set. And we did that pretty early in the game, and it was amazing to have an infectious disease expert weigh in on that for us and help us come up with these pretty comprehensive safety protocols, which I was just able to put in practice on a photo shoot this week, which felt really good to sort of be prepared with that. But as we've been doing these webinars, like I said, I was starting to focusing on what will remain the same as we move forward. And so I started going back through all of the transcripts of these webinars and sort of highlighting things and pulling pieces out of it. And the honest truth is I don't know where I'm gonna go with this next, but I learned a lot by doing it. And so I just started pulling out the big headlines for myself that these intelligent people were sort of dropping down, the knowledge that they were giving us. And I want to continue to find a way to aggregate this information, to package it somehow, to put it somehow together for, social media or some sort of free ebook or something like that, that I can sort of put this out into the world. So the project's not over yet. Obviously, I feel like I want to be a lifelong learner, and this was just a great way to continue to learn about being a creative freelancer during this very insecure time. So that's my my project for now, and hopefully there'll be more of it in the future.
Really well done, Matthew.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good work.
Guys, appreciate it. Also want to turn a garage into a workspace, though. It's I look good. Sarathi, did we pronounce your name right?
Yeah, my name is Sarathi. Thank you so much for this platform, and I really got a lot done. So my project was, here, I'm just gonna share my screen real quick. My project was to make a music video for my recent single that will be coming out in July. It is still in the works, but I'm really happy about where I've gotten it so far. The song itself is about the conflicts between our artist's ego and our imposter syndrome. And as many of us are artists, I'm sure you guys will understand where trying something new and working on something that's completely out of your comfort zone really sets you a little forward to understanding yourself more as an artist and inspiring yourself and motivating yourself. So this is my way of actually doing that. Just throw myself in the deep end and making my own music video, editing it myself. And I obviously had friends help me out, but a lot of it was done by me and my partner. So I'll do a quick little snippet of it so you guys can see what I have been working on. This is not completed, so there's still a lot that I want to do with it, but it is really close to where I want it to be. So here it is.
As the victim, as the criminal. Line me up just to break me down. I tell myself it gets better. The truth has never been this loud. I keep myself from losing focus, losing focus, losing focus, losing focus. Oh, I keep myself from losing focus, losing focus, losing focus, losing focus, losing focus, losing focus. Oh, I keep myself from losing focus, losing focus, losing focus, losing
So that's a little snippet. It's going to be coming out in July. So I still have a lot of work to do on it. This is kind of completely mapped out. The effects are mapped out. There's just a couple B-roll footage that we want to record. So we're going to get that done before July 15th, and this will come out along with the song on Spotify and YouTube and all that. I wouldn't have been able to do this without the motivation and the inspiration I've gotten from my cohorts, because I definitely have gotten to points where I just wanted to stop doing it because I was so out of my comfort zone. So I want to thank my group so much for motivating me and driving me to actually complete this. So thank you guys so much.
Hey.
Oh, good.
And those vibes are
How
great.
about those rainbow colors?
Seriously. Sarathi, put your Instagram handle in the chat window if you don't mind, so people can follow along and find your work, and encourage all the presenters to throw their contact information in there as well, so people can follow along. But beautiful, man.
Love those rainbow colors. All right, I'm up next. I'm Christina Huntington. I'm a filmmaker, a visual artist, and a meditation teacher. Also a cohort leader. So hello to my cohort who's here tonight. I'm so proud of all of you for your amazing work and for just showing up during a global pandemic every week for each other. We really actually bonded quite, I told them on the last call that they're literally going to be my heart and soul forever, because we really actually kept each other sane during this time, and just that human gift of connection was absolutely priceless. So I did not come into this thinking I was going to create a bunch of stuff. I actually came in thinking I was going to do more of a personal project, but I ended up creating a lot. So I'm going to share that first, and then I'll talk a little bit more about what some of the other things were that I don't have a visual for, but let's get started with this. Can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, so I started, so I am in some photography classes. And so I made a bunch of art in quarantine. This was a photo book that I put together of a bunch of the art that I've made, this cosmic art series. So I just wanted to bring all of that together into one place. So I started to gather all of this. Oh wait, hold on, let me move through. So this is work that I've previously done that then I just put together, gathering it all in one place so that I can start to have something to show for myself, kind of like a mini portfolio, or I can start to put this into something online, because what I realized is that when I Googled myself in this process for the Art of Freelance, there's a lot that you find about me as a meditation teacher and not so much as an artist. And so I need to start really putting this stuff out there so it can be seen. And then I'm in a black and white photo class. And so I also created this. This is art in quarantine that I made, literally having to create these projects with just myself, not being able to leave the house, which was a huge challenge. And so little artist statement. This first one was a still life series of black and white still lifes. And so I called it the New Gold Standard 2020. And I did still lifes of all the things that were considered the new gold as of March, that if you got them, you were considered a king or queen, because these were the things you couldn't get your hands on. So just documenting this moment of quarantine. And this was also the first time I'd ever really done kind of product photography. So, and then this is an actual still life of things that are antivirals and antibacterials. And then this was a fact project. And the challenge with this was how do you make documentary, quote unquote, photos when you can't go out and shoot other people and be in their space. So I ended up interviewing people about what their most pervasive feelings were. Again, this was at the very beginning of quarantine. And from those, I took the main feelings that other people were experiencing, and then through self-portraiture brought them to life. So this was anxiety. These were the main ones. This was sorrow, hope, fear, and loneliness. And then a fiction series where I had to create fictional work, again, not being able to go out into the world. This was under heavy quarantine. So I decided to do, to study 1940s black and white films, and specifically female archetypes during that time. And then I created essentially a film still from a self-created movie of these different female archetypes, just using me and then a white background. I shot it all. I did just with found costumes and things, and then I composited film backgrounds into the backs. But all of these were the intention was for them to look like they could have been a still from a 35 millimeter 1940s film. This is my Femme Fatale series. And then, so that's that book. And then this is the big final project, Gifts of Isolation, where I went out and I was able to then socially distance film people, and I shot them, okay, and then I asked them questions about what the gifts of isolation were for them, and then shot them in those as a series of portraits. And so questions, and then I have each person doing the thing that sort of ended up being their gift that they got from this. And I asked everyone a series of 8 questions, especially what's the gift that you got from this? Oh, that's my timer. And what do you hope that we will all take from this moving forward? So anyways, that's all of that. That's what I created.
Woo! So much good work.
All right. Nicely done.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jeremy Jackson. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Jeremy Jackson. I'm a photographer here in Los Angeles. I've always loved photographing dancers and really wanted to use this opportunity in quarantine to photograph dancers while they're at home. And I did that using FaceTime. My first idea was to make posters and make collages of them and take photographs of them using full bodies, but also close-ups of their hands and feet. And when I zoomed in on their hands and feet and started cutting them out, I realized that they made really beautiful, graphic, expressive shapes. So this was the first one I did, and this is what became the basis for the rest of the project. I photographed 10 dancers across the US, 4 different cities. It was Los Angeles, Pittsburgh, New York, Chicago, of various ethnicities, different styles. Some are hip hop, some are ballet, modern dancers. It was really fun to see their different take on it and what their strengths were. And I would have them set up a laptop or phone a few feet off the ground, and I would have them lie on their back and extend their limbs in the air and just improvise. And they would improvise, and I would, give them some subtle tweaks and direction along the way. And it was a challenging shoot because I wasn't always sure whether they would work for the project. They would come up with some really beautiful poses, but when I would play around with them in Photoshop and mirror them, they weren't always as strong. So the shoots were only 30 to 45 minutes, but I would spend hours and hours after that and cutting them out and, putting them together and seeing how they worked. I shot the dancers individually at first, and I thought it would be really fun to incorporate couples who are dancers. So I reached out to a couple who are in the Joffrey Ballet in Chicago. This is the one I did of them. And I thought it was interesting and just added a whole other visual element to see how the unity between two dancers interacting with each other. This is the same couple. And then I wanted to give you guys a little glimpse into the process. So here's the shot that I started with. This was a raw shot that I did in FaceTime. This is Paula and Lamont in LA. And so this is the raw shot, what I would start with, and then I would bring them into Photoshop, cut them out. And then this is what I would end up with. You can see them here side by side. Both amazing dancers. Here's another shot of the same couple. And here's my most recent piece. Thank you all for watching. And you can see the series on my Instagram, Jeremy Jackson Photo, and feel free to send me an email. And I want to say thank you to all the dancers and to Art of Freelance.
Go, Jeremy!
Damn, dude.
Big boy.
Fantastic.
It completely,
you all.
wow.
Man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing work.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Really beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, that's a hard one to follow. Unbelievable work. I'm Jessie Jams, and I'm a wardrobe stylist and art director in Los Angeles. And I basically, during this whole time, feel like we've been given this pause on work. That was really nice to explore stuff that we haven't been able to do because we're working constantly. And so I actually went to school for fine art pretty much my whole life. And when I became a stylist, kind of still would dabble in fine art, but not really spend a significant amount of time doing it. So because of the pandemic and Art of Freelance for my project, I wanted to get back in my art practice and create a regular art practice so that I'd be spending a good amount of time in the studio. I'm gonna share my screen. Can you guys see? Okay, cool. Yeah, so to start, I converted my garage I had to keep half of it for wardrobe, so into a wardrobe studio, and then the other half into my art space, so that I had kind of a designated space to do stuff. My goal is to spend at least 10 hours in the studio working on fine art each week, and ultimately working towards a bigger body of work that I've had in my head for a long time but never got around to. And if I couldn't get inspired about that work, I would do painting or do ceramics or just do collage or something.
especially what's been going on in the past 2 weeks. It's been kind of hard to think that my art's super important or relevant. But my cohort and everyone kind of came to the consensus that making art's important no matter what. So the body of work that I've actually been wanting to build on has to do with the experiences of humans becoming more disconnected with nature. And I've been really interested in these kind of man-made mounds that I've been shooting over the past couple of years, but I really wanted to shoot them on medium format, like really nice camera, and discover these kind of weird landscapes that are kind of beautiful, but then when you think about it, they're actually like destroying our landscape. Let's see. So these are, they're all shot on 120 around, a lot of them are gravel, and then this is another couple of pieces that I see in the same body of work as those that, same thing. They're roots, they're dipped in marble dust and then displayed on canvases with projections of water being projected onto them. But it's kind of this like ode to nature and preserving what's left. But yeah, so okay, I hear the timer. So yeah, that's all for now.
Very nice.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Hey.
Yeah, beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, it's nice to see those all come together.
Who's that? Was that Jay? That was Jessica.
Okay. Hi there. My name is Jay Javon. I'm a writer, I'm a filmmaker, and a comic. And my original intention with the Art of Freelance was to delve into music. I played like the oboe and the flute in high school and the saxophone. And I danced ballet and jazz and did some acting in high school. So I did all this stuff, but I never really kind of knew what exactly I wanted to do. You know, it was just like a toss of the coin. I went to school for college, went to NYU for acting, and then I graduated from school for acting, and I've just been basically working a 9-to-5 job ever since. So although I'm an artist, I've never really given my chance to be an artist. And so I was kind of taking the Art of Freelance to kind of help me sort of grow into music, which I've never really given myself the opportunity to sort of explore beyond high school. And at the same time, I wanted to build a regular meditation process. I had this really powerful spiritual experience in college in 93-ish, and I've spent the last 20 whatever years trying to figure out what that was about and how to make use of it and integrate it into my life. So with this Art of Freelance workshop, what ended up happening was a lot around the world. Like, I mean, obviously we won't get too much into that, but it was really challenging to sort of learn software and create music. And what ended up happening was that I really kind of just more fell into the meditation aspect, which was really beautiful in that it helped me to sort of get in touch with myself in ways that I hadn't before. I think I left out the part that I've been struggling or dealing with challenges of mental illness in the last 2 years. I have post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, and depression. And I've kind of been carrying them around since I was a kid and not really knowing it. And so I didn't really even believe in depression and all these mental illness things. So for me to really clearly see, like almost 2 years ago, that I indeed was living with mental illness, and I started taking medication, all this, it's been really difficult. And So the meditation actually really helped me through this pandemic crisis, and then now like this mind-blowing Black Lives Matter movement. And you know, it's something I've never really dreamed I'd experience. And I think I heard time or something, but I just wanted to say that the meditation experience itself just really opened me up to sort of who I can be and how I can express that. I've already sort of taken steps to sort of to do that in ways that I don't think I would have without support of this workshop. So that's it. Thanks very much.
Beautiful, man. Thank you for sharing all that. Sharing that.
Thanks so much for sharing.
Inspiring me to get on that meditation practice.
We lost Eric here.
It sounds like we lost the next presenter.
There we go.
And he's back.
Oh, I didn't know I was lost. I'm glad I'm here. Hey everyone, I'm Eric. I go by E. Jordan Ill. And for my project, it's beautiful to have, Jay has a beautiful segue. Kind of switched to the way I would present it. Pardon my daughter out here making the noise. But, sorry about that. And my other daughter's here too. So real quick though, the PTSD and trauma that a lot of people have to deal with is very interesting, and often we may not know that we have it. And so again, I can really resonate with what you said, Jay, and thank you for that. And so I had a similar project. I think for a lot of the cohorts and everyone around, I'm a guy too, peace to my cohort. I love y'all, y'all are great, and I'm going to drink because of Jessica. But anyway, the way that a lot of people may deal with the complexity of their life and the traumatic experiences that they may have or have had and linger on. I was introduced to meditation as well. Of course, it was like from Headspace, and I would talk to people and they would be like, yo, I don't like his voice, or like, I feel like it's a lot of people just had different things to say about it. And I was one of those people that were like, yo, meditation isn't for anyone who looks like me. So when you come talking about meditation, you're probably lying, it can't be trusted, etc. Then I get introduced to it and I saw the beautiful benefits. And so I decided to come up with something that would kind of show what meditation would be like for people who felt like me and didn't really think it was for them. So it's called Just Chill. Oh, sorry, I'm moving things. I'm doing a lot, sorry about that. So it's called Chill, and it's we have a little lyric from En Vogue. It's 3-minute meditations with chopped and screwed beats, so the beats get kind of different to give what my unique selling proposition, but also to really resonate with my audience. My audience are everyone here, people who look like me, people who don't, but more so just to give you that time to relax. So I made a site for it. I made it a subscription service. I have merchandise for it. Some of the meditations, I don't know, I don't think I hit the share the audio, so it may not even work, but it's about this. There you go. If you can hear it, there you go. But if you can't, we got some Dr. Dre instrumentals there to really show like who it's for or the feeling you'll get from it, but just to really relax. Again, I have it so it's kind of productized as well. So if you don't want to do the actual meditation, you can support by way of merchandise, and it's subscription based, meaning when you get a subscription, you'll get a welcome gift of a journal, you'll get like a sweatsuit or a meditation mat, things like that. And of course, exclusive meditations that sound like that, but have different topics and things. And so it's www.justchill.today if you want to chill for free, or if you want to subscribe and get all sorts of cool stuff. I have some traction by way of the beautiful support of my cohort. I'm very thankful. And without this program, I definitely would not have completed this. And so I'm thankful for your attention. I'm thankful for my cohort, and hopefully everybody gets to chill, whether it's from this app or not, because wellness is key. So thank you.
Yeah, amazing.
Chill.
I like this whole vibe.
10 out of 10 recommend Just Chill.
Just chill.
Website
Amazing.
in that chat.
There's nothing better than chill, man. Oh, and we've got the daughter.
Yeah, and the website is justchill.today. That's your name right there. There's in the chat too. Awesome. Well, next up, it's a pleasure to introduce our friends Betsy and Van, coming to us from Massachusetts, I assume still. And they have been the very generous and sort of supportive partners and sponsors of Art of Freelance for almost since the beginning, the past few years, and partnered with us on the safety on set stuff that I spoke about earlier, but also have helped us sort of facilitate the workshop and implement it. And we're always really grateful to have them as sponsors and partners, and how much they do for this community. So we're gonna let them tell you about Space for Arts, but before they do, I'll just go ahead and vouch for it right now. Our studio is on it, and it's a really great way to find production spaces. But before I give too much away, Betsy and Van, take it away.
Thanks, Matthew. I'm Van, a co-founder of Space for Arts. Think of us, and we're at our remote headquarters in Western Massachusetts. So those noises of joy you heard at Eric's house, if you hear similar noises here, they're coyotes. And
Exactly.
it is chilling, but not chill.
Exactly. Yeah, we bugged out to the woods.
But think of us in the most simplest form as the Airbnb for production professionals. Providing you with access to vetted production spaces around the world. We're going to show you a quick sizzle.
And we'll be right back.
Because we're boring, much more boring than our reel.
Right.
And then Betsy, my co-founder, will take a couple more, another moment.
Thanks, Connor, for teeing
And
it up.
thank you, Matthew.
Woohoo!
All right, whoa!
Betsy and Van's Art of Freelance project.
I know. You know what, Matthew? You shamed us. We're gonna have to go through
the course.
We're totally, if you do, we do. Anyway, thank you everyone so far who has presented. It's absolutely incredible work, hands down. Everyone, big. Can we just have a big shout out if everybody is online? One more round of applause.
Woo!
Really excited. The second half. It's Saturday night. Look, it's 9:30 in Massachusetts, and we are glued to our computer screen waiting for the next project.
We'll do a wine advertisement as well, but
yeah, we could. But anyway, so one of the things that we love to do, obviously, we are a professional platform where we are bringing together production spaces with creatives who need to find those spaces. More importantly, as you can tell from our pitch sizzle, we love to give back to community, and we find the ways to support that community, because if you can't give back and you can't be a part of that community, what are you doing? I mean, you know, you've got to be able to feel the pulse, what's happening, what's important, and how do we continue to inspire and create. And that's the kind of thing that Matthew does with Art of Freelance, and we are so thrilled to partner with him. So one of the things that we would like to say is a big shout out to Matthew. Thank you very much for allowing us to collaborate with you. Safety on Set, that was super fun. We're hoping that we can circle back and maybe everybody give us feedback about how everything is happening and shooting on set, or just how your creative processes happened post-COVID. But more importantly, we're really excited about the next few projects, and check us out, spaceforarts.com. Matthew, Connor, thank you so much. And all of y'all, you're just kicking it. Keep doing what you're doing and be inspired.
Thank you guys. We appreciate you deeply. And if anyone needs to rent a studio, now that they're back open in Los Angeles, we just got the word yesterday. So now that that's possible to do again, it really is a great platform to do that for anyone looking for that kind of space.
Guys, later.
Hi, Maya.
Hey, everybody. Oh, I'm right next to Eric, and so, oh wait, let me turn my light up. He had to mute himself. Hey, I'm Maya Nicole, also Maya. And can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And this is my third time doing Art of Freelance, and I'm so excited. Thank you so much to my cohort, Christina, Susanna, Jay, Ruggiero, Suzanne, John. I also did a lot of meditation. It's a lot of stimulation, a lot of things going on, so my capacity was a little bit limited, but I also was able to go in, kind of like work on some processing. So I started a project called Cycles, and so I'm going to share my screen. There we go. Then I go share. Okay. So what I did is I created a space, a container online called Sanctorum, and basically what's a divinely blessed space for calming the nervous system, combining elevated emotion with a clear intention to raise your frequency. So like there's like scheduled meditations and sound baths, and then so I created that space, Sanctorum, and then also created this project called Cycles, which is based on work of this writer or scientist. His name is Joe Dispenza. Is it on? Oh, there we go. So Clarissa Pinkola Estes, it's about the life-death cycle, and then also Joe Dispenza's work around heart coherence, blessing energy centers, breathing, and all that stuff. So the project is called Cycles, and this is the cover of the sounds. So it's gonna sound songs that it's not yet finished, but will be downloadable. And then they also have visuals as well. So the whole premise is like cycles, like seasons, summer, autumn, winter, spring. And then there are also other words to describe those cycles. And so it's kind of a take on different cycles. So I'll just share just a few. Let's see. Okay, so that's that one. Then there's that's called autumn, and then we're gonna go into the winter or the death, like nadir, grieving. So this one. See if I can find the sound. Where's the sound for this? Okay, well, I guess I'll move on to another one. See if I can find the sound for this one. Well, not that one either. How do you find the sound? I don't know. Okay. Well, anyways, so these are just the different cycles. So each thing is like a cycle, and we've got the autumn, we've got the winter or death grieving, and then like after that, you know, and then there's spring, and then it goes back into summertime. So yeah, that was my thing, Sanctorum and cycles, and I'm so thankful for my cohort and Matthew and the whole community, and lots of blessings and love.
Woohoo! Is it online and open to the public, or do you need a password to check all that out?
Yeah, it's password protected right now, but the password, I guess I can put the password in the chat section. I'll put the password in the chat.
We can go check it out more. I'd love to explore it more.
Yeah.
You too.
It's AOL.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I just remembered about the Triple E album. I'm gonna go back and listen some more.
Aloha. My name is Susanna Kennedy, and I live on the Hawaiian island of Kauai. And I came to this group through my son, James Pedix, who's done this so many times, and I was so impressed about his getting his projects done. And so I'm going to share my screen with you and show you what I've been working on. I thought I was going to share it. Oh, I see. Okay, so I have created a belief change modality that helps people deprogram their subconscious mind and heal their emotional wounds without having to talk about the past, so that they can confidently express their true self, consciously create their paradise on earth, and fulfill their soul purpose. So I created this program. It's currently called the Emotional Mental Detox, and it's a series of guided meditations that take you step by step to deprogram your subconscious mind. Created it about 20 years ago, really, but seeing that it could really be helpful to get it out there in the world a bit more, I was looking for a way to bring people to my website. So I created a quiz, and it's called the Villain Quiz. And so it's tell me about your inner critic, and I'll tell you which subconscious villain is sabotaging your best life. So there are 6 subconscious villains that block you from achieving your highest potential. Take this 2-minute quiz to identify the character who plays the inner villain you most need to vanquish. So we can take the quiz. There's 7 questions. I'm just going to go through them quickly. I don't know if I have enough time to read them all. So then you get your, you put in your name to get your results. Okay, see my results. And in this case, the result was the character, your subconscious, your most dominant subconscious villain is most like Meryl Streep in The Devil Loves Prada. So this would be somebody who is not balanced with their mind and heart, where the mind really dominates and doesn't give space for thought, emotions, or intuition. So, and then there's the video, which goes into it and gives like a little subconscious personality reading. And you click on that and you get another video that invites you to book a free call with me so that I can talk to you, see where you're at, where you want to go, and how my products or services might help you get there in the quickest way. But the other thing is that you can share your results. So if you click on the Facebook share, it makes a post for you, and you can post this, and then other people will have the opportunity to take the quiz. And so this is one way I would appreciate, we're supposed to say if we want any extra support, is for y'all to take the quiz and to share it, and maybe we can get a little viral action going. So the after you arrive in my world for giving your email address, there's also some education that goes along with, well, how do you deprogram your subconscious mind? How can you do it easily? How can you, and then the different ways that I can help. So I have a digital program, you can do it on your own. I have groups that I can do a teleclass kind of format, and I have private coaching. And when things open up, I also sponsor retreats here on Kauai. So that is my quiz. And it's, if you just put in villainquiz.com, you can take the quiz and share it, hopefully. So that's my presentation.
Well done. And you're in Kauai. You already won the game.
Yeah.
Let's hear. Can you guys hear me okay? I was having some echo problems earlier. Okay. Hi, I'm Audra, content creator, and I have a workshop and photo studio in down Los Angeles that after a couple months, I finally have access months, so it's been fun to be back. Just to give a little bit of background on me, I was a content creator for a software company for many years. And this year it was like my year to break in to have more creative freedom. After a whole lot of planning, it all went to gone because of COVID and all the things that I'm glad are happening in the world right now. So let me share my screen share I've been working on. Okay, so one of the goals that I had when starting my freelance journey was creating my own studio and creating some passive income for myself. So the way that I did that was initially I was offering products on Etsy and offering specifically tools creative, so photography tools and UV lamps. So this would be for exposing cyanotypes or doing any kind of screen printing work. This is a custom camera remote that I made when I was blogging, and it turns out other people really want that too. And then another big goal of my freelancer was to establish a program that gives back. And so my initial program, our initial idea for the studio was to host workshops in the downtown location where I teach people how to make stuff and give them some confidence around making. And then also rent out the studio for other people to do tabletopography because I use that all the time. But that's part of things that went out the window. So I was thinking, how can I respond and keep to my community with the things that I'm good at? And I'm an OK product designer, and I'm certainly more by the day. And so one of the goals that I established with my cohort was that I design some products that give back to the community. So head over to Design for Good section of brand new echostudio.com website. You'll see that this was the first design that kind of launched the idea, this rainbow center. that uses 3D printed material and this prismatic material that shoots pretty fun rainbows everywhere. And am committed to donate 50% of the proceeds from design to the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank and the Sela Neighborhood Homeless Coalition. The other design that I came up with in this crazy time, that I'm so happy to launch simultaneously, that was never my intention, was to create a second sun catcher that would also give back to the Beam Collective, BLMLA, as well as ACLU SoCal. The Beam Collective champions mental health, and I am a big proponent of that. And it's so cool to see everybody talking about medicine and all of these wellness goals in the program as well. Outside of that, the other goal that I had for Echo Studio was to slowly start teaching about how I make things. So for every design that I sell, I'm also telling you exactly how to make it. So try our folks to try it on their own and just share back their results. So yeah, that's the spiel with Go Studio, a project I had been wanting to launch for years that Artifacts helped me kind of get off.
Woohoo! Go to the website, get Window Rainbow Suncatcher.
All right, very nice.
So I should be up next. It's still on Aubrey.
Connor's looking for you. Yep, found you.
Yay. Okay. Hi guys. My name is Rachel. I'm actually a web developer. So I usually don't consider myself a creative, but this sort of world, although it exists in tech, it's usually more like I built this crazy code and it's not really a creative environment, it's less supportive. So James recommended this to me and I thought I'd give it a shot, and this is my first go. So I actually quit my job right before the whole stay-at-home order started. And it was for a lot of reasons, to get better in my health, everything else. But, you know, just kind of coincidental. And before that, I'd spent 3.5 years teaching a boot camp for web development, and then left that job to work at a unicorn tech company. And yeah, 6 months into it, realized I hated it. So I quit, and I was going to do a different project coming into this, but being the fact that the job market's getting more difficult and everything else, I thought I'd make myself a portfolio. I've been doing web development for about 20 years now and have never once in my life actually had a professional portfolio. Not because I didn't want one, but because I'm so specific in my tastes that anything that I would make for myself was never good enough. I could build things for anyone else in the world super easily, but never anything for myself. So I'm gonna share my screen. All right, so let's see here. Okay, so you should be seeing what is my landing page that I have had for over 1.5 years when I first decided that I was going to build a website. This has now existed for 1.5 years, and I haven't touched it since I built it and hadn't tried to do anything since I started it. The only thing that I still like about this is the color palette. So going into this, I had this totally different idea that I was going to do this sort of storytelling project that was going to go from like web design 20 years ago to current. I tried it out and it was just this hideous disaster. So I kind of started thinking like, well, what do I actually want my site to look like that's more myself? And the only thing I really had to go off was this, which is my former coming soon page. And then let's see, go through here. This was my business card. So I had a logo that I designed ages ago, and I kind of had this idea of mirroring images. And so this actually gave me a chance to like really sit down and do some design work. Something that I generally don't consider myself a graphic designer. I do it out of necessity because I primarily consider myself a programmer. So yeah, I'll load my site. Let's see how. So this is what I've gotten built thus far. It's not at all in any way complete, but my focus on this was to really create something that kind of had contrary movements to what you would expect, while still behaving in a way that's completely usable and easy to use. My market for this is a little bit different than I think a lot of web developers. I'm not actually looking for clients with this. I'm looking for agencies to hire me out to do sort of like advanced JavaScript storytelling websites, not like e-commerce, that sort of thing. I'd kind of put myself into a, pigeonholed myself into making just WordPress and Drupal sites one after the other. And I honestly hate doing that. So I don't want to do it anymore. So I spent a lot of time, working on things that I never thought that I would be working on. You can see that although I've built a section for a portfolio, I have not put in any of my content there yet. Still working on that. This is a work in process. But, I have most of the movement kind of stuff done that I wanted to have done. All of these pieces, scroll and go through each other and everything works. You probably can't tell, but my like little elephant down here actually like runs across the line as he's going. I don't know if the lag's good enough there. So I've started adding animations and that sort of thing. So I just really wanted to create a product that another developer would look at and go, oh, how did she do that? Like, let me look at her code and see what's happening. So I'm at a point where, yeah, I have like 600 lines of JavaScript. I got to use the quadratic equation and sine waves and a multi-dimensional array, which is something I learned in computer science class way back when and had never thought that I would ever use it in real life. And I finally used it. So I'm really happy with where I'm at right now. And I'm just kind of in this process now of refactoring all of my code, rewriting everything to be highly performant. And then I'll start putting in the portfolio content. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at now. And this is all I've got for content on it, contact information. Honestly, I'm not really a social media person in the slightest. But if you do LinkedIn, that's probably where you can find me. I do have an Instagram, but it's like 10 posts a year, maybe. Anyway, that's all I've got. Stop sharing.
Woo! Well done. That was beautiful. It's a very cool site.
Woohoo! Good.
Right, Gabby.
Okay. Wow. I really appreciate everyone's presentation. And I guess I'll start with my thanks to Art of Freelance off the top. Because, yeah, I just kind of went in thinking about working on my project, and I didn't anticipate using this to help navigate all aspects of my life. And it really got me through a difficult move, and I think in a good place with that, which is amazing to me. And really enjoyed my cohort, although we did not meditate. Yeah, I think just like kind of analogous to moving, or my move anyway, it was a lot about paring things down and kind of getting a feel for what's realistic about where I'm going next. And so for me, my project Raised is something that I've been working on for a long time, and kind of targeted doing grants and got really close, and then just years went by where I realized, like, okay, that's probably not going to happen, and how can I release this material into the world and do it while I'm parenting my son, which was already sort of challenging with time and other limitations. And then pandemic happened, and then my time got even more squashed. So the clarity I came up with in the group is that I have a lot of material, and I think what makes sense right now is to put it on social media. I had been doing that before in a limited way, kind of like a smallish group of about 6,000 people, but I think they're supportive enough for me to go back through the material, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'll show you a bit of the project. We're on my desktop, Shipper. Okay. All right, so Raised, I have two things here. So the idea with Raised was, oh, I don't want you guys to see this. Hold on just a second. Stop share. Oh, there we go. Okay, get rid of that. And back we go, thanks. So yeah, there it is. Okay, thank you. So the idea with Raised was that I was talking to people of different ages who grew up all over the world, or they were first or second generation immigrants to the United States. And we were talking about how they grew up, how they were raised. And I talked to about 12 different people, and the original concept was playing around with doing a podcast with these audio vignettes and then also having a digital presence. But I found that, again, working with the group, that I think what I had going on with Facebook is good enough, and I just need to expand it out. So that's where I'm going next with things, and it'll look a lot like this. And I can sort of show you this other kind of the breadth of what I'm trying to do. Can people hear me okay? Yes? Yeah, okay. Good. All right, so let's see. First story.
I'm watching
Full screen. So this first story is a friend of mine who grew up in Kiev, Ukraine, and it was part of the Soviet Union. So of course it won't look like this on Facebook, but these are the types of assets and images that I'll be using. And then down the line, when I have more time, I can go back and do something like this more involved digital website and see about having maybe Patreon subscribers. But the idea is photos from when they were growing up, and then transcripted text. And then we just talk about all the things that go on when you're growing up. So we talk about siblings, identity, how complicated that can be. Things that might be particular to someone's story of how they grew up. In this case, a fight that he was in. We talk about popular culture things. So I can do posts around items that they share, television shows that they grew up with. These were Soviet cartoons that were a big deal in this person's life when they were growing up. Alex is his name. Music, pop music that was important. And what's great with YouTube, I can share the actual video, and then I have audio vignettes of them sharing their thoughts on why any one thing was interesting to them. Okay, so that's that. And then back to the keynotes that I had. Oh, sorry, guys. So something that came up for me doing all this work was it really is so challenging to parent and make things. And I can just see that that's going to be happening more and more. But I'd like to keep going with what I'm doing and expand it, because I did this originally to process inducting my son into American culture. That was on my mind when I had him, and thinking about the way that I grew up. So my family, let's see, these are the two sides of my family. So Eastern European Jewish and Iraqi Jewish, and both of these communities don't exist in the places that were their homes for a long time. So I was thinking about how to give him those experiences, but also just how he won't be able to visit with them anymore, and what that means to me, and how I'd like to share that with other people. So yeah, I feel like I'm talking in loops a little bit. But anyway, I wanted to add some of how I grew up to these stories. And I grew up in California, and during the 70s and 80s. So there were a lot of different things happening at that time. There were a fair amount of refugees who were friends in my school from Laos and Cambodia and Vietnam, and learning about their history was very important when I was growing up. I want to share a little bit about what's going on for me as a parent. This is from a field trip that I went on with my son, our first grade field trip, going to clean up garbage on the beach. And the kids were just kind of learning to read, and they stopped and, you know, sort of figured out what was going on here. So I think there's a lot to share there. There's just a lot. So I'm going to put it on Facebook and start sharing in about 2 weeks. And every week we'll have a new story. That's the idea. And we're going to do 12 different stories from people from all over the world. And I don't know if there's still time. I was going to share with you guys some audio. Let me go back to see.
We're over the 3 minutes.
You're over the limit? Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I don't know why our timer, I think when we're screen sharing, the timer's not coming through on the audio.
Okay, well, thank you.
To jump in. But yeah, thank you for sharing. It's such a beautiful project, and there's so much depth to it. I know it's so hard to share all the things that you've been working on, but I would encourage everybody to follow you on Facebook. Please put the link in the chat for us so we can be following along and see this all come out.
Hi, everyone. I'm James Arpetix, and this is like the 5th or 6th time I've done Art of Freelance, and I was lucky enough to lead a cohort again this time, and I just want to give a shout out to everybody in my cohort, and they all did a great job. Also, so cool to see my mother doing this project for the first time, so shout out to Susanna Kennedy. It's really great to see that, and I think they're really great. So let's see. So I've been working on a web series called Catman Adventures. It was originally an Art of Freelance project, and I've been coming back to it more and more. It started as like a vlog, like an adventure vlog of me and my adventures. It kind of started, it's called Catman Adventures because I have an Insta-famous cat, Fin for the Win. I've done many projects, creative projects based on her. But as I started doing the vlog project, I started making videos that were more and more personal about other things that I was interested in that weren't cat-centric. And last year, I shot a ton of them. I shot, I got maybe 30 of them, shot and edited, and they're all on YouTube at Catman Adventures. And but I had about 10 videos that I never edited. And all the ones that I didn't end up editing, I realized were a lot more personal, and they they didn't really go along with the cat theme, which I thought was my target audience. But, you know, it turned out like, you know, they like the videos, but, you know, they probably are just as happy with me just sharing a cute cat photo every day and not, you know, spending 3 weeks to make a video. So I realized I really got to make these more for me and about what I'm really interested in. And so when this whole quarantine started to happen, I was wondering what I should do. And, you know, I had these, you know, many videos that I had shot last year that I was like, well, when am I ever going to have the time to finally edit those? And I was like, oh, I have the time now. So, you know, I went back to the archives and I picked out like the one that was really giving me the most trouble. And because it had nothing to do really with the things that I had set up the vlog for, but I thought it was really interesting. And what it was is I went to this art event and in Bombay Beach at the Salton Sea. And they were doing this annual event called the Bombay Beach Biennale, which was kind of an art show that they do in this kind of abandoned seaside neighborhood. And they did it once a year, and I've had an opportunity to go 2 years now. And so I filmed it, and I made a whole vlog about it. And it turned out to be twice as long as any episode I had made. I was in it a lot more, and yeah, I love new cats or anything. And I'm gonna show you a really quick 60-second trailer for that, and also a 60-second trailer for my next episode, which is all about the world of cosplay. So I like to, sometimes I dress up, I like to go to conventions, and you know, there's no conventions anymore. So I feel kind of lucky in a way that I already have this footage and that I can share that and kind of get that energy again, and maybe people will get excited about the, you know, the convention season. So I'm gonna share that, it's like 45 seconds. So I'm just gonna use the rest of my time and I'm gonna show these 2 videos. You can check me out at youtube.com/CatmanAdventures. And if you guys have any ideas for next adventures, let me know. Here we go. I'm here at Bombay Beach, right here on the Salton Sea, because there's a really cool event going on called the Bombay Beach Biennale. Now, this neighborhood has had some bad times in the past. It was supposed to be the next Palm Springs, turned out to kind of be the next Detroit. There's garbage and ruin everywhere. But out of the ashes springs new life. So what's happening here is artists from all over the world have come and taken these abandoned houses and lots and trailers and turned them into their own private art collections. You might go into an abandoned house that is now a gallery. There are musicians playing in what were vacant lots. They've really transformed this space from urban blight to something really, really magical. There is so much to explore here and so much to discover. I can't wait to show you it. Are you ready for an adventure? Catman Adventures. All right, that's the first one. And, oh, I gotta do this again. There you go.
ABC, guys. Always be cosplaying, because you never know who you're going to meet. Are you going to meet She-Ra? Are you going to meet Batman? Are you going to meet the Hulk? You never know. And so if you're in character, if you're in costume, you have an automatic in with that person, no matter who they are. Always be cosplaying.
Suit up. We've got to head to the Anaheim system in less than 12 parsecs for WonderCon. Who you calling scruffy looking? Maybe you got a point. Yeah, that's better. Now don't get all mushy on me. You know, I've got a good feeling about this. Are you ready for an adventure? Catman Adventures. All right, well, that's Catman Adventures, and yeah, check it out. Thanks for listening.
Woohoo! Nice work, man. I saw the Bombay Beach.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Ryan Schutte, I'm a photographer. Done this a bunch. Love it every time. Always trying to make new work. And like a lot of people, I also moved right as quarantine was starting. So That was a fun little challenge. As you can see, this ramshackle garage, I didn't do as nice a job as the Dubois, but you know, did my best here, and I'm enjoying this little bunker. Anyways, I'm going to share this little self-portrait series shot with my wife Agatha at our place in Montecito Heights. I can get there. All right. You guys see that?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So there's 6 images, which is generally how many I try and do every Art of Freelance. When we print them and put them on the wall in the garage, it's a nice number. So I stuck with that and I got through 6. They're all in and around the house. This was the furthest we ventured for the series, but just down the street, this scene was kind of just lit up naturally. And so we kind of took each location and decided what kind of story we were going to tell. And often she'll walk around and cut flowers from the public spaces around the neighborhood. So this is her masked up, and me kind of creeping over here in the corner in this truck here. So we just made do with what we had, really. This is the backyard. This pepper tree that was looming around. We wanted to figure out a scene that we could create there. And, you know, each time we didn't really know what we were going to do going into it, but the locations kind of described that for us. So this became this kind of Caravaggio painting unnecessarily. So I'm back here picking fruit for her and making sure her cup is full as she likes. So it was a lot of fun. We don't work together often in this capacity. So as the news was ramping up, a lot of time was spent just staring at the phone. And I pulled up this image while we were shooting, and I think the headline just so happened to be resist fascist lockdown. So, you know, a lot of this kind of fetal position was happening as she's forlornly going through boxes we were unpacking. There's a picture of her mom in her hand, kind of from the balcony. Didn't know what to do with this hillside of a backyard, and the concept of a time capsule came up. So we dug a hole and thought about what we might want to bury here for future, or what someone else could find. This was the old bread box filled with the tin painting. Did a little DIY craft time, tie-dyeing, and you know, a little bit more of a documentary style lifestyle thing, which I'm not always comfortable with, but it was fun exploring in that realm. Just full natural light. And then ending off with this totally random chalk stair, whatever you want to call this, but she's watering hillside here with this cutout she made when she was 8 of herself, a little self-portrait, getting in there, me throwing some shit off the roof. Yeah, we were having fun. But actually, after it was all said and done, today, I think my favorite part of the project was the placard we had to come up with. So I got a new business card to share with everyone how to get to the work. So there you go. That's my time.
Can we talk about naked Ryan in the background of the Caravaggio?
Yeah, feel free to go back to the website and check that out. There's a Zoom feature specifically to check out the butt in the moonlight shot. So
beautiful work as always, man.
Thank you.
Hey there.
Hey, Bradley.
Nice to see everybody. I'm Bradley Thorderson. This is my first Art of Freelance. I am Matthews introduced me to Art of Freelance years ago, and I've always been too busy to be a part of it, it seems. You know, if you're not working for someone else as a freelancer, you're working for yourself. So you got to make time for the important things. But then there was nobody to work for a while, and I thought, well, why not do something special for myself? So I've kind of put a lot of energy into telling a new story. I'm a production designer by trade, had a fairly successful career as a production designer. And over the last few years, I've written and directed some theater, and it really got me into the writing bug. I've written a few other stories, and I've had a story that I've been working on recently that means a lot to me, about a young boy who has difficulty making friends in his social group at school, outside school, and winter comes and he's lonely walking through the forest, and he envisions a stick figure in the sky against the trees as he's laying down, looking up, and so my story was about how a boy, and he had this vision of making a stick figure friend. So how a boy could make a friend in order to learn how to make friends. So that's the story. And I've written the story, and I started doing it as a graphic novel. So my plan was to I wasn't gonna do the whole graphic novel during the course. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Yep, good. So I wasn't going to be able to write the whole graphic novel through the course. I think it's like a 3 or 4 year long project. But what I started doing was some of the character design, and then designing how the project will come together. So I have the written story, and I really wanted to figure out who these characters were, how I was going to draw them. I knew the boy was 14 years old, and I knew that he would find a stick figure. So this is the original, this is the sort of the beginning plates of my testing. I'm just doing pencil sketches right now before I ink or paint anything. Just doing a bit of this. So you can see he's laying on the grass, he's looking up, he sees a stick figure, and then we go into his eyes, imagination, and that was the first incarnation of the stick figure over on the lower right to me. And so I was like, okay, that's really great. But then how does the stick figure grow if he does this? And so he's walking home, he sees a pile of sticks, he grabs some sticks, and he bundles them up and carries them through the neighborhood to get home to his house, lays them out on the table, and starts making the stick figure. Now, in between these two frames that you see here, I have a big gap of the entire second act, pretty much, into the third act. And I just really I was grappling with, what does this stick figure character look like? So for the Art of Freelance project, I had a few things I was considering, but the thing that I landed on was to design this character. So, I'd worked on designing the boy and how he might appear and some other things, but then I thought, well, what's the stick figure? What's he gonna look like, And so I thought, well, maybe I should just make one. So if I make a maquette, then I have something that I can draw, I can work and use for like a physical study. So that was my project for Art of Freelance, to make a drawable maquette, character development. And in the process of this, I really started to understand the boy character more and more, putting myself into that context of physically building it, of making my friend, making my character. So I confronted a lot of the challenges, like, okay, so what are the hands, and then I thought, well, maybe the hands start out as simple sticks, and then later they become more articulate, and maybe it's a gift or something like that. And then maybe they have interesting ways of spending time together, like they float on floaties, and they spend time in the summer. The boy's on an inner tube, and the stick figure's just floating because he sticks, So anyway, I kind of got through this whole process and learned a little bit more of the intimacy, and ended up finishing my maquette. So I have this shapeable, formable, I can make him run, I can make him sit, I can make him, I can pose him any way. I thought the bird nest as a head was the kind of at top of his head. I haven't done a face on him yet, and I may not ever. And also, it's sort of a stage. Like, I think there's a very simple version early on, and then it becomes this version. And then as this version, it's going to change. Like, I might put like a rib cage or like a shape on there, even wrap soils and grass. And then later on, in summer comes, the boy will plant seeds into the stick figure, and he'll begin to grow and flower, or springtime, and he'll flower, and we'll see the life cycle through the stick figure as he grows with the boy, with the love and the cherishing after he comes to life. And then, when fall comes, he may pass on, he may start to wilt and lose his leaves. And then in winter, so I have these, in winter, he'll go back to the pile of sticks, and he lays down and Puff the Magic Dragon, right? So the idea here is that for this project, like, it's just a stage, and I've already started onto the next stage, but I broke my, I shattered my collarbone and a few other things in a bicycle accident. So I've been armless for about 3 weeks now. So there you go. That's my project. I didn't get all the way through to wrapping the ribs in the soil, but this is where I am right now, and I'm pretty happy with it. So.
Yeah, man.
Oh my
Beautiful.
gosh, so
I
cool.
do want to thank my cohort and James and Audrey. I want to, Rachel, everybody, you guys were really great and supportive, Devin and Jeremy. It was really great to have that support. I do really savor that aspect of Art of Freelance is trudging through the trenches together. It's a lovely aspect to it, and the accountability aspect of it to it is really something that I found refreshing. So thank you to everybody.
Well done.
Thank you, man. Glad you're part of it. And yeah, that looks great.
Very, very nice. Well done.
Thank you.
Connor's looking for Travis to spotlight him. Travis is still here? Travis, I guess, been having some connection issues. So why don't we spotlight Ruggiero? Oh, wait, Travis is back. I see him. I can spotlight him. Travis, can you hear us? Won't let me spotlight him either. Maybe Travis will dial back in. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna move on to Dazan and see if Travis is able to kind of reconnect. I'm not able to spotlight him.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I have unstable connection apparently, so I will do my best here. But
can't see.
As long as you all can hear me, that's great. So basically, I started this project or this workshop with the idea of rebranding, overhauling I'm a photographer, overhauling my imagery, my website, portfolio. I'm going to go ahead and just jump right to screen share. Let's see if it works. I don't really need sound, but can you see that?
It says you have started screen sharing.
Is it working?
Yeah, there it is.
Okay. So the idea was basically to, let me get this out organized. The idea was to basically compile a collection out of, 10,000 images of about 40, highlighting architectural, food and lifestyle portraiture in some sort of cohesive way. So I did that, and that was very satisfying because I've been working towards that for the past 5-6 years. And then once I compiled a collection of projects, again, apologies for the glitchy. Give me a thumbs up if you can see what I'm showing you. Yes?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, good. So each one of these is a project or a client that I worked for, and you click on each one and it expands into imagery. You can go to dazanwally.com at your own leisure. Because what happened about 3 weeks ago is I dove into a stay-at-home black and white project that is now all I care about. I did do this part of the project, which was my original goal, but then I have been obsessively driving around our tiny little mountain community. I live up in the Northwest in the mountains, photographing people on their porches, and I'll just go through these. I have about 45 of them now. Oh, come on, internet. And really the goal was to capture sort of eye level, almost Depression era imagery of our community. There's only about 4,000 of us that live in this tiny town, and I think this might be easier for me to just scroll through. Shoot, there it is. Okay. With the idea of capturing the isolation and the sadness and the strangeness of this time, but also the, ultimately the strength of all of these, just gonna go this way. Ultimately the strength of all of these different families or all of these different individuals that are existing in their own little worlds. Can you all still see it?
Yep.
Okay, good. Working with these families has been profoundly affirming just as an artist, because of course I am used to going out and working and instead have been a full-time homeschooling mom, and to have a project that allowed me to interact with people and interact with them from an artistic place, from my heart, felt really inspiring and a great way to connect with people in this time. A lot of these people I know very, very well. A lot of them, I was their midwife years ago when I was the midwife practicing in the beautiful little town. And some of them I don't know at all. And at this point, I would consider this project done, but I just keep getting texts and emails from people wanting to be a part of the project. So, so the list is still growing, and apparently the project's not done. The goal of this is to try to really capture the timelessness and strangeness of this time. And then, yeah, and then just a shout out to my cohort, because I feel like not only did we have an amazing group where I feel like I have new friends now, not just people that I worked with, and but also just so much momentum that occurred by working with everyone, and I can't imagine having any sort of completion of any of this work if I hadn't had that accountability. And I just felt so invigorated after each one of our sessions and excited to get back in and work on this stuff, and got my kids to help me with some of it. And so, okay, hop out here. So on my, I don't even know if you guys can still see me, but on my screen, you can see that I have @DazanWiley is my Instagram, DazanWiley.com is my site. I will continue to shoot more of the stay-at-home series and post those on Instagram and whatnot. And thank you. That's it.
Woohoo! Beautiful.
Well done, nice.
Yeah.
Great.
Following the Instagram now.
I guess
Travis.
that's me. That is me. Hi, everybody. Sorry about some technical things dropped out, but I'm back. So I'm Travis Tunn. I've done Art of Freelance, I think 4 times now. And I wasn't going to do it this time around because I thought I had a lot of things to do, and I didn't. So it was really great to be able to jump in and try to find a project to do. And when I was going through the projects, I've done this a few times, and every time that I do this, one project comes up every time, which is to make a podcast. And I've had a lot of people tell me to do that for various reasons over the years. And I have been really resistant to it, but like wanted to try to do that. Take some good advice from people. And so this time I was like, I'm just going to do that. And I didn't know what it was going to be. So I'm yeah, I kind of wanted to be really meta and call a bunch of people and make some like really in-depth like podcast about making a podcast, which on some level, I guess maybe I've kind of done, but I didn't really know what to do and I'm really resistant to it. So I just called a bunch of my friends and recorded all of our phone calls for a while and just couldn't find anything that stuck. It all felt pretty unimportant. And I was trying to figure out why, like kind of how I could make anything that felt like I was going to get somewhere to be able to say anything useful. And I realized I don't know, people had told me a couple times I was good at giving good advice and I'm really bad at taking it. And so I decided to make a podcast about that, called Take the Good Advice. So I bought a website and I did all these things. I wanted making a pilot for this thing and an Instagram account today and a website that I made today, which is all in the chat. So you can go and listen to a 20-minute podcast. And every episode is kind of about just a piece of good advice. And so the first one was just get started. And so I talked to a couple good friends, talked to my son, and threw together something that I'm not terribly like thrilled with in a lot of ways, but it's a first draft and it's a start. And yeah, so that's what it is. And now there's a website that you can check out. I am suddenly not able to find how to share my screen because but it's also right there and it doesn't really matter. Because it's a really simple website that looks just like the desktop of my computer. Yeah, so I am going to do a couple more. I mean, the next episode I already interviewed some people about, which is Get a Dog. And then after that, I've got a couple other ideas about just little pieces of advice. Drink more water. And I guess in some way I want those things to be able to branch off into like a more important discussion about why it's hard to do things that you know are good or why it's tough to follow through. And this program has helped me kind of do those sorts of things, and also shone a light on how hard it is to do. So yeah, that's what I did. There's a podcast. It's up there. If you click on it, you can download it. You can listen to it. There's an Instagram thing and other stuff. And that's my time.
Woohoo!
Look at it.
Yes, yes, I can't wait to listen. Finally.
Drink more water.
Thank you.
Quick, man. Well, Connor has let me know that I think Ross is up next.
Hey everyone, my name's Ross Fury. I am gonna take my headphones off first so I can hear a little bit better. But I'm primarily a photographer. I live in Chicago. I've been a photographer for 10 years, and I've always been into music kind of on the side. And so the last year or so, I've been kind of making my own music in my bedroom and messing around. I have a lot of half-finished songs that I'm having trouble tying together. So right before this little Art of Freelance session started in February, I took a trip to Jamaica. And I do a lot of photography when I travel, but the last couple of times I've traveled, I've brought like a little music making kit with me. So I bring like a little audio interface, sometimes a guitar, my laptop. And so I flew to Jamaica after visiting some family on a whim in Florida, found a cheap ticket. And then I decided to rent a guitar from a little music shop in Montego Bay in late February and started making music in a cabin in Jamaica. And it was fun. But I had the same problem where I started making a bunch of songs and I felt like I wasn't going to finish any. So I tried to kind of commit to one song that sort of had a vibe that I wrote one day there. And this was like right when COVID was kind of getting big and travel bans were starting in the news. So I had a little bit of anxiety about like the future and all that stuff. And I wanted to I've done some music videos for other artists, and they always tend to take me a really long time. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, I guess. The last one I did took over a year, and it haunted me forever, kind of. So partially because there was no deadline. So my last couple of days in Jamaica, I didn't have anything going on, so I decided to try to shoot my own music video. And so I spent 3 days. My deadline was my flight home, which I extended twice, but just like shooting nonstop for 3 days in Jamaica. And it was cool, but I had a kind of minimal kit with me, not that much equipment. It was like, I knew I didn't have what I wanted. So I thought I might come back to Jamaica in a couple months and maybe what would happen, but the airlines were canceling everything. So I'll start sharing my screen here in 1 second. So I decided to create some Jamaica in my own apartment. And so I expanded my little home studio in February, and I have like 2 units in this building now. And so I've been experimenting with some different like set building materials. For this one, I just hung up a bunch of tapestry, and I've been playing around with lots of LED lights and stuff. Select all of them. So there's that one. And then here is a quick little movie of that stuff in action. I've been playing with some live projections and all that. So that's a tease of just like me experimenting a little bit in my apartment. I've always wanted to play with live visuals, but I got a little carried away maybe with that one. But so I decided to build these miniature sets, and I bought a bamboo wall from Home Depot and tried to integrate some tropical flavor into my apartment building here. And I'm actually using this in the backyard as a privacy fence, but before I hang it up, I'm doing a little set with it. And so I've been buying all sorts of like DJ lights and DMX controllers to try to find kind of a fun way to play around with the lighting on them. And then the song has a lot of different elements to it. It's kind of complicated, and there's a guitar solo in it. And so I wanted to have a camera like flying over me for a guitar solo, but like crazy lights all around me. But I figured that might be hard to do on the beach. It would take a long time, and I would need like a bunch of equipment and a permit. And so I went to a beach. This was just last week, and I hung up that little camera over there to just capture the sand. And I put leaf blowers on it because I'm trying to combine some visual effects elements into my final project. And so I started shooting some guitar stuff on the green screen. It wasn't really working how I wanted it to. So this is actually this morning. I got 300 pounds of sand from Home Depot, and I brought the beach to my backyard. And so I started to build a little beach set for my sand castle. And then I had another privacy fence back there. And so I built this stuff in the backyard. And so I'm trying to mix, the video has a lot of different parts, and sometimes they're in the daytime, sometimes they're at night. And so I was hoping I would have a video done by the showcase, but I underestimated how complicated it is and all that. But I do have the first 1.5 minutes of the video, and it's super rough. It's just like plain cuts. There's no effects. There's no transitions or anything. But I think it's the next tease in here. Let me see. So the video, you'll hear only the first third of it. And so it starts off kind of like me being paranoid in a cabin in Jamaica, and then it turns into like a little fun beach adventure, and then it goes into sort of a trippy guitar solo, and then I've been filming all these flashbacks from my past at that grew up and all that. So it's gonna be a really complicated video, and it's probably gonna take me months, but just this weekly check-ins for this have helped me be way more productive. And like, I wouldn't have set all this stuff up in my backyard this morning if I knew that I wasn't, if the showcase wasn't going on tonight. So here's the first minute of the video, super rough. And the audio is super rough too. I'm still recording the song and mixing it, but here's a little teaser. So I think that's all I had so far. The rest of the video is all a puzzle that I still need to put together. But yeah, it's still in the super early phases, and there's going to be like I've been learning a lot of little tricks to make it look like I didn't really shoot the video when I did. So in the end, there's going to be automated camera movements on everything, and fog and light flares, and I've been playing with all kinds of little crazy technology, like this thing that you can buy for $100 and go crazy with. So yeah, it's been a fun little learning experience. But yeah, that's what I've been doing with the Art of Freelance. So thank you guys for helping keep me accountable.
Right on, man.
Woo!
Jumpsuit.
Yeah, we need all those outfits.
Hey, everybody wants that jumpsuit, dude. We all want that.
I'm gonna splatter paint all over the jumpsuit. I bought blue and red paint to like dip it, and I was gonna do that yesterday, but I got too carried away.
So as long as we get that jumpsuit with the light flares, man, it's all good.
Yeah, the rest of the video is gonna be more like that. It's gonna be more light flares and more fog and everything, a little more psychedelic. So I'm reshooting.
Awesome. Great project.
Thanks.
All right, you guys. Thanks you to everybody for presenting. Another amazing night of projects. It's always super inspiring. Thanks for everyone for staying with us for the whole evening, and thanks to everyone that presented, and thanks for all of the work that everyone created over the past 10 weeks. Thanks to everyone that sort of held the space for everybody to create all this work and inspire and encourage and hold each other accountable, and that's what this is all about. We love you guys, and I think that's it. Thanks, everybody.
Woohoo!
Woo, woo, woo. Woohoo.
Amazing Art of Freelance. Thank you, Matthew. You rock
It was
it.
a pleasure. Thanks to everybody. We'll ride on. We'll enjoy your Saturday nights, and we'll do it again soon.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Good work, everyone.
Thank you. Well done, everybody.
Woohoo!